Morning, everyone. Can you hear me on the computers? Okay, good. So I'd like to talk this morning about coming home. We are finishing the 7-day winter retreat, and we're finishing our 3-month Ango training all at the same time. This winter retreat that we're doing is called Rohatsu in the Zen tradition. And it's generally the strictest retreat of the year because it coincides with the day that Buddha was enlightened, which is the 8th of December. So in very traditional Zen centers, they end the Rohatsu on the 8th of December, but we're not that traditional. So usually the Rohatsu Sesshin is the strictest Sesshin of all that's done at a Zen center, and often people will sit up into the night. I've done that many times in the past, but I'm getting older. It's not so easy to do. But anyway, this is the last day of this Sesshin. And I want to congratulate all of you who have been participating in this Ango. We're about ready to finish. 3 months to do this kind of training together is no small matter. And so tomorrow we'll have the Shuso Hosen ceremony, and then we'll rest with winter. When I'm a preceptor and I give you when I do a Jukai ceremony with any of you, I always say at the end of the ceremony, welcome home. And I mean that sincerely, welcome home. But what do we mean by home? What do we mean? You don't say, I'm going back to my house. Well, sometimes you do. I'm going to go back to my house. Usually we say, I'm going home. Home has an emotional resonance to it, doesn't it? It's a place that we feel safe, comfortable, it's familiar, it's our shelter, and fortunately everyone that's here has a home to go back to. Some people don't. Refugees, homeless people don't. Even if you're in your home and you've been sequestered in your home for 2 years, it might start to feel like a prison. And so now you want to get out of your home and you want to take a road trip. Don't we all want to take a road trip? Get out of Dodge. Don't we all want to do that? And so you take a road trip. And then at some point, you start longing for home again. And you want to come home. And you come home. And then when you get home, your home has certain smells that are familiar to you that you smell. And you're delighted to be home again. The most serious matter that we are here to inquire into is life and death. And I think all of you know this, or you wouldn't be practicing here. We're all aware of our life, and to some degree, we're all aware of our eventual demise. It's a big mystery, isn't it? And I think that's a serious matter. It's desperate, actually, that we're going to die. We've seen other people, we've lost others. Some of you have lost people this year. We have grief. So life and death is a serious matter. This practice is serious. We're not playing a game. This is your life, my life. And so the most important thing, we have wonderful Dharma talks at Sesshin. Shikan talking about the Lotus Sutra, Sensei talking about being embodied, and then yesterday about Trungpa's take on the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which was very interesting. The most important thing in our practice is taking refuge. To take refuge in the 3 treasures of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. That's the most important thing. What does it mean to take refuge? What does it mean to take refuge in Buddha? Who is Buddha? Where is Buddha? Is he on the altar? Did he live a long time ago? So the most important thing in our practice is to have faith in Buddha. I could end my talk right there. Not much more to say. Have faith in Buddha. You think, faith? We should have faith in Zen? Faith in Buddha. Faith in yourself. Know your own mind. You should know your own mind. That's why we're here, to know our own mind and try to figure out who the heck we are. Who are we? Who am I? Who are you? Do we really know? We think we know. Seems to cause a lot of trouble, our identities. A lot of conflict. So, to come home, to really come home, is to come home to your true nature, your deepest nature, your most authentic, deepest heart self. Your deepest humanity. It doesn't matter if it's Buddhist or not. It doesn't matter. What matters is coming home to your true self. That's what matters. Coming home, knowing your own mind. And you have to do it. No one can do it for you. You have to do it. It's up to each one of us. So, what does it mean to be Buddha? What does it really mean to have faith in Buddha? To have faith in Buddha is to see you are Buddha. And as Buddha, there is no other. There is no objective world out there. That's a delusion. There are no objects. You are not an object. And you don't live in a world of objects. And that's the most common delusion that we have. We forget who we are, and then we we see others, and now we create all kinds of suffering. Everyone does it. We all do it. I do it, you do it, and we forget who we are. We really forget what it means to come home. You could be home, and you could come home on the streets and be homeless and be a lot happier than someone that's living in a mansion that has a beautiful home. A home doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the material world or the building that you're in, although on the relative side, we're all grateful that we have shelters and homes. But that's not the home I'm talking about. So, to be Buddha means to live your life in a straightforward manner, to be genuine, to be sincere. Suzuki Roshi used to talk about this all the time. Be genuine, be sincere, be yourself. I think of we have a koan where there's a tea lady at the bottom of Mount Tai that the monks come and ask her the way to the monastery. These monks are all excited. They're going to get to go to the big monastery, and they're all looking forward to getting there. And they ask her for direction. She just says, "Go straight on." Go straight on. Many years ago, Soen Roshi, who was a delightful Zen teacher, I had the good fortune to do a few sesshins with him. He used to always make fun of how serious I was, how earnest I was as a young Zen practitioner. And he was staying in Little Tokyo with somebody, and they told him, "Don't go out at night because it's dangerous." So what did he do? He went out at night. He was walking around, and it is dangerous. I lived down there in that area of town, and downtown LA, and he's walking around, and some drunk guy comes stumbling by, comes up to Soen Roshi, who doesn't speak a lot of English, and the drunk says, "Where could I find the women?" Soen Roshi looks at him, kind of understands what the question is. He says, "Go straight on." What does it mean to live our lives in a way that's straightforward? It might sound easy, but actually I think it's not so easy to be straightforward in this way. The Diamond Sutra has a very famous phrase that says, dwell nowhere and bring forth that mind. That's to be straightforward. And there's another translation of that phrase, which is, you should give rise to a thought unsupported anywhere. What does that mean? If you see that you are Buddha, you see there is nothing here that is substantial unto itself. This is what we mean by the teaching of emptiness. Nothing exists unto itself. I don't, you don't. That's why there's no other. You are the world. So if somebody upsets you, you're upset. And you have to live with your upset. But your upset continues to fester because you're thinking about the other person that upset you. But you're the one that's living with it, not them. There is no other. And if you upset somebody else, you're already upset. So you're still stuck with yourself. There is no escape. I'm sorry. There is no escape. It's up to you to know your own mind. And it's hard work. That's why we practice. So when a thought lands on something, that's when we begin to suffer. Thoughts are like clouds in the sky. So are emotions, so are memories and images and all the rest, the narratives. They're not unimportant. I'm not saying we should deny emotions, which are a rich part of our humanity, or our thinking. But it's not that important. And we give it too much importance. And we give it too much importance when it lands somewhere. And once it lands somewhere, then suffering begins. The thought is empty, the emotion is empty, you are empty, the other is empty. And that is the deepest, deepest truth that I have yet to discover in my life, and why I appreciate this tradition, because there is this very deep and profound teaching which is really beyond explanation. We have to discover it, each of us, for ourselves and clarify it. But we all have attachments, but the practice is to be free of attachments, to not land. For your thought not to land somewhere means to be free of attachments. That's what it means to be Buddha. That's what it means to live your life in a straightforward way. But it's not so easy, is it? Isn't it? We all have attachments. We all get attached. So rather than try to get rid of your attachments, get into them. Really be intimate with your attachments. Find out what the payoff is. Find out how it serves you. Or find out how much misery it brings you. Really look at your attachments. Don't try to get rid of them. Actually be mindful of your attachments and be curious about them, because we all have them. And we all suffer from them. But as Buddha, there's nothing you need in that way. You are complete and whole. There's nothing missing. There's nothing lacking here. Have faith in Buddha. And then the Dharma is the truth that arises from this clarity. And I'm not talking about some ontological truth, something substantial. I'm talking about something immediate, right here, right now, this. Right now. And now, the next moment. There is no now. We always say be present. What does that mean, to be present? Well, it's already past. So then you take the next step. So this kind of clarity is impermanent, which is why it can give rise to tenderness and love and compassion, because we see how fleeting this life is. once you know your own mind, once you know you're Buddha, what follows after that is none of your business. None of your business. The point of practice is not to have great insights, great openings, great awakenings. That's not the point. That's none of your business. What follows after you know your own mind is grace. Once you really let go, then life carries you along, and life will do what life does. And when we resist that, the Tao, when we resist being in accord with the way things are, then we suffer. Because we don't like the way things are. We would like it to be our way, and then we suffer. And our thoughts land somewhere. And we do this over and over, don't we? Over and over again. And here's a sort of disconcerting truth. There's people that don't deserve it that wake up. You say, and they live long lives. There's people that are pissed off as hell, and they live long lives because they're so stubborn. They listen to talk radio, and they live to be 95, and they eat bacon every morning. And they live a long life because they're just so stubborn and angry. And you got to respect that, You got to kind of respect that because it's amazing. But they're not happy. You want to live a long life and be miserable? Wouldn't it be better to live a short life and just have joy? You know that story about the person that falls off the cliff and they pick a strawberry and then they're tasting that strawberry. It's so delicious. That's it. Then we want something more. And grace is enough. It's more than enough. But grace doesn't show up if we're trying to manage life. It doesn't show up. So, in one way or another, being straightforward is about letting go of the contraction of self that we have, that wants to control, that is afraid of the unknown, that is insecure. Every one of us, as that self, is insecure. And building up that self isn't going to make us more secure. You can live in a gated community and you can be scared shitless every day. All you have to do is turn on the news. In your gated home, in your gated mansion, you can be miserable. So our practice is to sit and taste the truth of your deepest self, your deepest humanity. To be intimate, to come home. Nothing is more important than this. Nothing. Doesn't matter what you realize, your insights, your openings. If you practice, you'll have openings, some large, some small. But you don't manage those. They come as a kind of grace. So we chant the Bodhisattva vow. I vow to liberate all sentient beings, but you have to know, you have to see that all sentient beings are also empty, just like you. They are not substantial in any way whatsoever. So who are we saving? Who needs to be saved? All beings are yourself. When you liberate yourself and come home, you liberate all beings. You must know this. If you don't understand this, you're missing the point. Now, having said that, we got to be very careful. Just because we are Buddha and we are empty of self and there is no other, doesn't mean that there isn't injustice in the world and war and famine and global warming and all of that. But we can be overtaken by suffering, which is not skillful. We can fall into a kind of despair about the dystopian nature of the world we live in. You know, at the time of the Buddha, they were talking about in the next 500 years is going to be the Dark Ages. So we're not unique. People have been living in dystopian nightmares for a long time before us. But we have some real challenges, don't we? And they're not to minimize the kind of challenges we have as a planet right now. And the unsustainable economies that we are still following. But knowing your own mind means you also are unshakable. So, yeah, there's global warming. But you don't despair or get overwhelmed by the suffering because you're also unshakable. And being unshakable, you can be that suffering. It is you, in fact. It's not something outside of you. It's also you. But if you don't know your own mind, if you don't know that you're the Buddha, then you get taken over by all kinds of things that you think are out there. They're not. They're not. That's a delusion. Fundamental delusion of human beings is to think there's an other world out there. So there are the outer forms that we have to work with in the relative world, and then there's the inner awareness. So what is mind, the inner awareness, the mind we speak of? What is mind? In one sense, mind is something we have that knows, that cognizes things, right? But the Tibetans say that mind is spacious and luminous. Well, what does that mean, that something is spacious? What is space? Is that real? What is it? Is it real? Is it not real? Does it exist? Does it not exist? There's space in this room, but Can we say what it is? Can you say what it is? So to say the mind is spacious, is somewhat mysterious, isn't it? It's hard to, we can't really cognize that. We can't really understand that. And there's something about this, the truth of ourselves, which is just ungraspable. And so part of coming home is letting go of trying to grasp that true nature and surrendering, letting go, and letting yourself be the deepest self that you already are. We're not practicing to wake up, you're already awake. If awakening was something that was conditioned, it wouldn't be awakening. It would be dependent on other causes and conditions, and awakening is unconditional. Your deepest true self, your Buddha nature, is unconditional. That's why you can rely on it. Now, another of the three treasures is the Sangha. We say the Sangha is harmony, and we can experience that harmony in retreats like the one we're in, and sometimes we don't experience harmony. When we're practicing the way we're doing, we are not a country club where we get together and drink martinis and talk about the horse races or something. That's not the kind of community we are. We're a Sangha. We're a genuine community. And when we practice like this in a Ango, we're going to rub elbows and sparks are going to fly. We're going to get upset with each other. We're going to really irritate each other, no end. I've never been in an Ango where there haven't been things that arise where people get upset with each other. When I was head trainee at Zen Mountain Center, almost 20 years ago, there was a person there that thought I was trying to kill her. True. And I was working as hard as I could, but I probably wasn't skillful with her. And so things happen, conflicts arise, and because in a way, none of us is reliable, are we? We're all somewhat undependable. Let's be honest. Part of being straightforward is just being honest. We're all somewhat unreliable. We do our best to show up and be accountable, but we're not always. So we all have good and bad. Even though we're Buddha, we still behave in ways that aren't skillful, don't we? And we create drama. And then our thoughts land somewhere, and now suffering continues. But I think I've been in a lot of sanghas, and I've been in sanghas that have had really big scandals that were really awful. But I think, I'm guessing that we would all more or less agree that Sangha is good. There's something about Sangha as a community that's good, even though the individual people, us, that make it up, are not always good. But Sangha is good. Sangha is a container for something to take place. And in that container, all kinds of things are going to happen. And we're going to stir things up, and we're going to get confused, and we're going to get upset. And if we're practicing, we're going to be accountable for every kind of suffering that we can be, and we're going to work with it, and we're going to heal it. Because that's what we do. That's what a genuine community does. We don't sweep things under the rug. And the thing about the Sangha that's so marvelous that I'm sure you're going to get this if you've been in Sangha for any length of time is that people see you as you are, for who you are. Not who they want you to be, not who they think you should be, but who you are. And so Sangha is a strange thing. We all are supporting each other, and at the same time, each of us have to stand on our own 2 feet. We're all responsible for our own minds, and we're trying to take care of each other. And the way we take care of each other is by really being good friends, taking care of each other's true nature, seeing who we are. I don't think there's a lot of communities that are like that, but Sangha is like this. And so that's why we take refuge in Sangha, because again, Sangha as a container is unconditional, just like the Buddha. And then the Dharma is the truth of the teachings, the truth of life, the way, the Tao, the phenomenal world, all the material world that we live in, that is nothing but us. And we say the Dharma is pure. The Dharma is pure because it doesn't care about whatever our personal agenda is. It doesn't care at all about whatever our project is. And we all have projects and agendas, and the Dharma doesn't have anything to do with that. So that's why we say the Dharma is pure. Again, the truth is unconditional. And when we live our lives in a way that is sincere and genuine, we align with the truth of that. And we have faith in that, even though we will fall short of being aligned with it constantly. We're going to all break the precepts. But that's what we do. And so still, the most important thing to remember is to have faith in Buddha. Everything else takes care of itself. If you just do this and then sit meditation, just sit. I don't know why, but do it. Just do it. And then it'll take care. People have been doing this for thousands of years. It takes care of itself. Trust the 3 treasures. Have faith in the 3 treasures. They're unconditional. You can rely on that. You can't rely on anything else. We're unreliable. People are unreliable. We've all been hurt. We've all been betrayed. People let us down. There's a lot of trauma in our culture, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. So the beautiful thing about the Lotus Sutra that we've been studying in this Ango is that when there is suffering in the world, Buddhas appear. When there's suffering, bodhisattvas appear. And some of them come out of the earth bodhisattvas. So coming home to yourself means stop fighting the war. Stop the war with yourself. Why are you fighting yourself? Why are you struggling? Why are you doing that with yourself, with your true self? Stop the war. Just lay it down. You can do it. That's why we practice. And then the funny thing about this is you practice and you clarify and you empty things out, and then you still have attachment. And as Trungpa, I think, was talking about the other day in the third foundation, we get attached to non-attachment. You get attached to emptiness. Then we don't see the suffering in the world or how we need to respond to it. And you thought you were going to be big shit, when you clarify things, and it's a bit of a disappointment to find out you're still stuck with yourself. You're still you're still doing the same stupid stuff you did before. You're trying like crazy not to, but you do. We do. So let go. Let go of the war. Let go of the fight. Who are you fighting? You're fighting yourself. You're not fighting someone else. Any judgment you have about whoever you think it is out there is just a judgment you have about yourself. And you make yourself miserable. You're not making anyone else miserable, you just make yourself miserable. You suffer. You get upset. It's funny, I think whatever we hold on to kind of stops life from happening in some way. And energy seems to be attracted to that part of us which is stuck, which is not opening. And energy seems to kind of be drawn there, and that hurts. I'm sorry. So practice gets more subtle as we go along. Our attachments get more subtle. And so we have to, this practice is impermanence. So you take the next step, and then the next step after that, and try not to walk off of tall objects, because it really hurts when you land. I can say that. So as soon as you think you know something, you're stuck. Your thought has landed somewhere again. It's so hard not to do this. That's why we have to practice, really practice with diligence, because our mind, we're just creatures of habits, and we do this. And Dogen Zenji said this wonderful thing. He says, when the Dharma does not fill your whole body and mind, you think it is already sufficient. When the Dharma fills your whole body and mind, you understand that something is missing. So return to your cushions, return to your chairs, return home. Welcome home. We have some time for some questions. Anybody? No questions? No comments?
It's one of the rare times that if there's no questions because you were very lucid. Very, very clear.
Put the mic, so they can't hear online when someone talks, so use the mic so we're all included.
Yeah, sorry. That's. I don't think we're gonna be able to come. Am I going the right way?
Someone else should be doing that.
So,
Sensei, why don't you do the controls and you do the mic, so whatever,
so
I give up.
yeah, I just said that it's one of the times that there's very few questions because the talk was so very lucid and very penetrating, and yeah, very convicting as well. So thank you very much for that. Certainly have a lot to work on.
Jackie?
Hi, yes, Roshi, you just, thank you so much. What is stirring in me is that I'm not suffering, I am suffering.
Yes.
Can you give me a little bit more with that, please?
Yeah, sure. That's a wonderful question, Jackie. It's one way of doing Tonglen. It's a modified kind of given sending practice. Is to, and I do this a lot with students. Is when you're upset with something or you're feeling any strong emotion, and you can do this right now. And we could all do this together. Just think of what is stirring in you right now as an emotion that's creating, turmoil in you. Now imagine all the people in your particular city where you are, in Oak Park or in Montana, wherever you are, in Minnesota. Imagine all the people in your town that are feeling this exact same emotion, the same thoughts, the same feelings that you're having right now. There's probably quite a few. Imagine all the people in Oak Park that are feeling angry right now, or disillusioned, or hurt, whatever. And now make it larger. Imagine all the people in your county, or in Chicago, that are feeling this exact same feeling that you're feeling. Fear, anger, insecurity. There's a lot of them, isn't it? A lot of people feeling this now. And you just keep expanding that. Keep enlarging that to the state you live in. All the people in your state right now that are feeling angry or fear. And it's a huge number of people. And you just keep making it larger. And when you do this practice sincerely, and you do it, I think what you find is that you don't personalize your suffering in the same way anymore. Or you can if you want to suffer more, but it's not personal. It's just suffering. It's not your suffering, it's suffering. And then our practice is to work with that suffering, but it's not, I don't own it, because the suffering is empty too. Does that make sense, Jackie?
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
I really like what you said about certain things just being none of our business.
Yeah.
I need to remind myself of that more. But yeah, you're right. Like there's a lot of stuff that just we can't do anything about it, and it doesn't pertain to us, and yeah, it's just none of our business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
I think of this phrase, I've told many of you this before, Aiken Roshi, who you know was a great activist, helped found the Buddhist Peace Fellowship, and he was a pacifist, and he was in fact, he was a great activist, but someone once asked him, what's the essence of Zen? And he said, floss regularly and mind your own business. And when I mean it's none of your business, I mean, if you think it's up to you to wake up and be enlightened, that's none of your business. You don't understand at all. That's delusional. If you think it's your job to wake yourself up, that you need to manufacture that in any way whatsoever, you're just missing the point completely. Your job is to get out of the way so life can proceed through you, through your deepest heart, and let it just surrender and let go and enjoy the ride. It's none of our business to be trying to cherry pick insights and understandings that we think are so precious because we discovered them, then that just becomes a kind of spiritual materialism, really, kind of what that is. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, lot to think about and sit with. Something that struck me was that the Sangha is the place where people see me as I am, which seems both delightful and terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, when I walk in here and I'm just am, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But there's nowhere to hide. The identities and roles that I might implement outside they have no use. They have no use here, and that's both wonderful and challenging.
Yes, I get it. Yeah. Sometimes I think we're more scared of our freedom than we are of suffering. To be really free can it be kind of overwhelming, and to be seen, to really be seen. But you also know that, and not just in Sangha, but just think of someone in your life that really saw you and heard you and listened to you. That kind of love is, that's what compassion is seeing and hearing and seeing the whole person, not just the part of the person or the identity, but the whole person. That's what I mean. And, the best testimonial I ever heard of someone here at the Zen Center was they said, I feel safe being myself. And we don't always feel safe, We're all, to some degree, insecure, and we're afraid that if somebody saw my, whatever there's parts of me I hide, I don't want to show, and if you saw it, you wouldn't like me. But the point here is that what we are taking care of is each other's Buddha nature. That's what we're here to take care of. And then the other side on the relatives, there's other things that are important too. I don't want to discount. Identity is also important in our culture because it's complex and it's getting more complex. So there's identities of gender, identities of race that are also not unimportant at all on the relative side. But when we're talking about the ultimate truth here, there's no identity, and we get trapped by those often. Tenzo. You've been working so hard this session. Labors are almost done. Yeah. You've all been working so hard. I'm really, really honored to be practicing together with you. So grateful to each of you, all of you, online, here at the Zen Center, the way you've all shown up consistently to support each other. It's really inspiring. So with that, I think we should close, and we're gonna have lunch, and then we'll have, we're going to have a practice at 1, right? Okay. And Barb, since you were in the Ongo, and you're online,